All right, this is the Everfun 30 can, 21 liter backpack cooler. And I gotta say that backpack coolers aren't something that I typically dive into because they're really set for something very specific. Usually like long hikes that require lots of food, maybe beach trips, camping, things like that. But if you find a good one that's affordable and does what you need, it can be an absolute game changer for those extra activities where you might need a cooler and backpack hybrid. And I've got some examples for that. I gotta say that in terms of price, durability, and functionality, this one probably takes the cake. Let's get into it. Okay, so the first thing I want to say right off the rip is Everfun did send me this to review and it's been an absolute joy and an absolute blast. But the one thing that I like about this backpack cooler compared to some of the bigger name brands like maybe Yeti or I think Igloo is like the capital person when it comes to like coolers is that this comes in at like under $40. I'll put the price tag up here, right here is the price tag. And that is an extremely affordable cooler, especially one of this size that functions as well as this one does. So there's a couple things that I want to hit on when it comes to this cooler. The first one being how comfortable is it when you have to wear it in backpack mode when it's weighed down with the items inside. The second one being the life of how cool and how cold or how long items take to get cool or cold or however you want to kind of the cold test. We're gonna call it the cold test inside the cooler because that's a huge plus. You want to make sure that the items you have in your cooler are going to remain chilly and refreshing, or whatever you have in there is going to be fresh and good and chilled for the duration that you want it to be. And the third one is going to be like a group of different ones, but mainly it's going to be functionality, right? And how well this works in the different environments, different settings, and different ways that you would need or find yourself needing a cooler backpack. Point number one, let's talk about comfort. Comfort on this thing is about what you would expect. 30 cans is pretty heavy. It dug in. I would not recommend using this in full backpack mode, filled to the top with like ice and ice packs and 30 cans and maybe sandwiches and snacks, and then try to go on like a 5-mile hike. You will absolutely hate it within the first like 10 minutes. The nice thing about a cooler backpack is that it is easy to transport because from the car to maybe the beach umbrella, from the car to the picnic spot or the car to the campground, it is very easy to put this on your back and have two hands free. Rather, when you have like a normal cooler, where you have to put both your hands on it to carry it around, a cooler backpack is a little bit easier, so you don't have to worry as much. I would not recommend wearing this thing for long hikes completely weighed down. With that being said, because it is a cooler backpack, I was able to put like a couple drinks, some snacks, you know, maybe like your typical, like you go a little bit further than like your typical granola bars and like water bladder that you would typically take on a hike. You could put maybe some like vitamin water or some body armor or some G-Fuel, if you will, G-Fuel, I love G-Fuel. And you could bring sandwiches, you could bring something that's a little bit chilled, maybe you want to chill something. One of the things that I have done with cooler backpacks, not with this one specifically because it's not summertime, but when I was working out in the field and it was getting really hot, it was like 90+ degrees, I would bring something like a cooler and I would have my food, my lunch and stuff, and then I would also put an extra change of clothes in there, especially for hikes. You start to sweat, you start to get really hot, you want to cool down, you do a quick swap of those clothes, you have a pair of nice, cool, chilled clothes you can change into, and then your hot clothes go in the cooler. I know it sounds a little weird, but trust me, do not knock that until you've tried it. Which brings me to point number two, which is kind of like the different usage that you can get out of this, the different things, the different scenarios that this bag works really well. One of my favorite things to do is to have a cooler in my car for trips that are longer than about 3 hours. Because what I'll typically do is right when I start the trip, maybe I'll stop at a gas station, maybe I'll get gas or whatever, but I always get like a drink, maybe a bottle of water, maybe a body armor, maybe an energy drink, maybe a snack, whatever, but then I always grab something else. I'm like, you know what, I'm probably gonna be thirsty in like an hour or two, especially if it's a long trip, maybe it's a cross-country trip or anything over like 3-4 hours. I want those extra drinks. It's always nice to have an easily accessible cooler you can throw your stuff in. It keeps it cold. That way, maybe when you get to where you're going or in a couple hours, if you're thirsty or hungry or whatever, again, you don't have to worry about it not being cold because I personally, I'm very weird. There's a lot of, almost everything exclusively I want to drink cold. If it's meant to be drank cold, like, I mean, obviously I'm not drinking hot tea. I'm not gonna wait for that to get cold. But water, I don't like drinking cold water. It's really weird. But like if I'm getting any kind of drinks that come out of a cooler at the gas station, I want them to be cold when I'm ready to drink them. I don't want them to be room temperature. That's disgusting. Ew, gross. Get it out of here. So that's a really nice usage of this that I've done with this. Personally, I like having this in my car for drinks for long road trips. I've gone on a couple longer trips, about 4 or 5 hours, and I've used this bag specifically for that, and it's worked really well. Another great thing you can use this for is, like I said, maybe some smaller hikes or longer hikes, but with less items in here. Again, going back to that comfort factor. Or maybe you're going to the beach. This is a great beach bag. You put it down, you wear it out, you put it down, boom, you got a base camp of everything you need right here. Maybe a picnic, something like that. It can be used for just about anything you'd want to bring a cooler or a cooler backpack for, especially like hiking. That's another, or not hiking, I already said that, camping. That's a great one. I love to camp, and having a good cooler to have everything you need in makes it even better. This has a lot of different things it can be used for. It's a very versatile bag, which I think is super solid, especially given the fact that it's also a cooler. Last one is durability. This bag is made from some pretty good, it's got ripstop, it's got Oxford fabric, it's pretty good, it's pretty durable, it's gonna last on your hikes. But what kind of features are on this bag besides the main compartment? So I'm gonna quickly walk you through those. There's not a lot to talk about on this bag, which is kind of nice. You get what you get. It's a very affordable, it's a very good cooler bag with some very minimal additional add-ons. So the first one that you have is, it comes with a detachable, what is this called? Bottle opener, right? Which I think is super solid because it can just kind of fall right in this little thing right here. But a detachable bottle opener is great because maybe you're bringing beers. Maybe you're, can you say beer on YouTube? I don't know, maybe you're drinking some cold ones. That's what everyone always says. You might need a bottle opener or whatever. It's nice to have that ability. If you want it there, it detaches. Not a big deal. Then you have a top compartment, which is also insulated. This is great for flat items, maybe sandwiches. Maybe you put some sandwiches in shrink wrap, maybe a couple PB&Js, maybe some ham and Swiss. I like roast beef and Swiss, a little bit of mayo, maybe some Dijon mustard with lettuce, tomato, and onion. That sounds amazing. I think I actually know what I'm gonna be doing after I record this. Up here, so they're flat, stay cold, stay chilled, whatever, stay fresh, but not have to worry about them being crushed by whatever bigger items you might have in here. So you do have a nice little top insulated flap, which I think is super solid. You have the main compartment, which opens, you know, basically as you would expect. And like I said, it is through and through, this is a cooler bag. This is a cooler opening. This is a cooler inside. Nothing, no fancy organization on this one. You're not gonna get quick access compartments and shoe compartments and things like that. It is a cooler bag. It's a little different than the normal content. Then you have on the front, this is where you'd put things like your keys, your wallet, things, little extra items, very small, very minimal that you might be bringing with you on one of those adventures or excursions that you find yourself bringing this bag on. That's a great addition. It's very minimal, doesn't take up any space, doesn't take away from the cooler side of it, but does give you that ability to pack your items away that you might not want to put in your pockets, or you might need to bring with you, or whatever it might be. Maybe you're putting some small plates, maybe you're camping, this is where you put some of your silverware and your utensils and things like that. It works, and I think it works really well. And then the last thing you really just have are these two mesh guys, which are great for water bottle pockets, maybe extra drinks, things like that. You have a handle up top to grab, and then you have a handle on the back to grab. The hardware on this, nothing is name brand. These aren't YKK zippers, but they do just fine. I'm seeing if there's a brand on these. I haven't really looked. Nope, no brand on these. They're not YKK, nothing weather guard, but you don't need all that. This isn't a bag where you need those YKK like weather guard zips. This is a leak proof bag. On the website I was reading about it, it's 24 hours leak proof due to like the 3-layer insulation. I didn't test the leak proof, but in the 8 hours that I had stuff in here, with like a good example is those baggies with those ice cubes that I put in here. Those were water by the end. It didn't leak out, nothing leaked out of the bag. It was honestly pretty solid. So through and through, cooler bags are an interesting thing, but they also are a great addition to your lineup. I think it's great to have a bag for a little bit of everything. I like to have a bag for the office. I like to have a bag for travel, for photography. But now I have a bag that works as a cooler bag, and I think that's a great thing to have. Now, Yetis are great. I understand the idea behind Yeti, and I'm using Yeti because that's like the biggest name brand for coolers I can think of. But the thing with the Yeti is, and I used to have one, I got it as a present a long time ago, back when I was in the military, and it's like hundreds of dollars for a Yeti cooler, right? I had like a small one. It's like a 15-liter little small lunchbox Yeti. It was like $120, and it was about half the size of this. This is $40, and honestly, and your mileage may vary depending on what cooler you have or what you use. The difference in how well they chill items or how long they keep items cold wasn't enough for me to dish out those extra hundreds of dollars. I'll put it that way. I understand maybe wanting to go that extra mile on some of this, But there are areas, especially when it comes to backpacks, where there is a fine line of going super cheap, like those Amazon basic bags. I've done a couple comparison, cheap versus expensive. And in some of those scenarios, the cheap version isn't worth it. I understand that it's like $20, $30, maybe even $40, or it could be hundreds of dollars cheaper. And you're like, oh, that's perfect. But the durability and the last factors really got to be taken into consideration when comparing these things. And in terms of a cooler bag, a cooler's main purpose is to keep things cold. How long you need those items cold is completely up to you, but I don't find myself needing items cold for much longer than an average day. Typically, that just is me personally. If I'm doing like overnight hiking stuff, I'm probably not bringing a 21-liter cooler bag. I'm probably bringing a gigantic cooler filled with stuff depending on what kind of camping experience I'm doing. Or if I'm doing backpack camping, I'm not bringing this. I'm bringing my Wandered Fernvey or one of my camping bags, and I'm doing like instant meals that you heat up in a pot. Cooler's not really a factor. But if you need a cooler backpack, if you want something that's gonna be able to be brought with you on your adventures and excursions, be affordable, keep your stuff cold, and be extremely easy to use and just be kind of exactly what you need, then I think this Everfun bag, and they have a bunch of different ones on their website, but just off of my experience with this one, this is a brand that I think is definitely worth looking at if you're interested in saving some money, but also getting a cooler that's gonna be worth the money you're spending. So with all of that, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, let me know down below and I'll happily answer those for you. If you want to, you can shoot me an email, odiematthewsbags@gmail.com. If you'd like extra additional content, videos, photos, anything like that, I'm always available there. For anything I've ever reviewed or talked about, don't forget to check out, I just started a second YouTube channel. What? It's not anything to do with bags or travel or video like I do on this one. It's a gaming channel. I love games. I love playing Xbox. I have friends I play with. I started streaming. I'll link my Twitch and the second channel that I started down below if you want to check those out. It's just good fun. I'm not a pro. It's just fun. It's not trying to win any tournaments or anything. It's nothing crazy by any stretch, but if you're interested, check those out below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, all of that nonsense, and I will see you next time.